And you'll never believe who is their leader, Liz Truss. Probably, certainly the least popular Conservative leader we've ever had.
What I picture is like a pilot crashing a plane into a field and then emerging from the burning wreckage and going, all right, give me another plane. One more.
Forget all those lefty wokies. Give me another one. Come on.
Right, right,
It's
exactly,
the way to
exactly.
go. I knew I was right. I was right before, and I'm right again this time.
Yes, the flaming wreckage suggests otherwise.
Hello, all you lovers of political comedy featuring countries with a United in their title. From the United States of America is Andrea Bridges-Smith. And I am Matt Johnson, representing, unfortunately for all the Brits, the United, for the moment, Kingdom. And I see that United Arab Emirates has turned us down again. Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Matt. How are things going over there? I believe you've had a little bit of news going on this week.
Yes. So our kingdom has taken a couple of knocks over the last few days. On Saturday, Michelle O'Neill became the first nationalist politician to hold the office of First Minister in Northern Ireland, raising the prospect of a united Ireland. In fact, if Sinn Féin win power in the Republic, which a few polls suggest they might, then a referendum on Irish unity might actually happen. It would certainly be difficult to argue against it. And indeed, it is part of the Good Friday Agreement.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions about this. I am not as up on my Irish history as I should be. Basically, everything I know about Irish history primarily comes from watching Dairy Girls.
It's not a
So
bad place to start, really, to be fair.
it's pretty fun, honestly. But I'm curious, what would happen to the UK if Ireland and Northern Ireland were to reunite? And are those the only two Irelands, or are there other secret Irelands that I don't know about yet? And for
Yeah.
anyone who hasn't been following along the past couple hundred years, why'd they split up in the first place? What's going on? Can you give us a quick rundown of all that?
Okay, well, the Irish certainly do get about a bit, so who knows? There's probably a few other islands knocking around. What would happen to the rest of the UK is it wouldn't be essentially the UK as you know it anymore. It would be, you could call it Great Britain, because Great Britain is the actual island of
Okay.
Scotland, England, and Wales. So it could
Okay.
be called that, or maybe it would carry on being called the United Kingdom. I don't know. We're a fair bit away from that, certainly, shall we say? So there is quite a lot of history involved here, and I'm aware with this accent, it's maybe not coming from the right angle, but bear with me because it's A, involved, and B, not very funny. So first things first, a timeline. A part of the Good Friday Agreement is that if it's looking like the majority of people in both the Republic and Northern Ireland want a united Ireland, then that will happen. They'll
Okay.
get they'll get a referendum first, but the referendum can only happen when the UK government has evidence of the people in Northern Ireland wishing to be a part of a united Ireland,
Hmm.
which they say hasn't happened, even though they've just elected a nationalistic first minister. Now, unfortunately, the polling for this is a little, shall we say, erratic. So it's a bit
Okay.
all over the place. It all comes down to sort of where you poll, what the question is, all that sort of thing. But
Okay.
Michelle O'Neill, who is Northern Ireland's new first minister, has suggested a time frame of a decade to have this poll. So I would suggest that's pretty realistic, really.
Okay.
Now, that's the easy bit. So as to the history, here we go. So I'm going to take this from 1801. Now, to be clear, it goes well beyond that, over 1,000 years between the Vikings and the Irish, the Normans and the Irish, Henry II, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, Charles I, and Oliver Cromwell, who is hated in Ireland, but loved in England because the Irish understand their history and we don't. Anyway, we don't have enough time for all that. And the only person old enough to remember all that is Joe Biden. So 1801, the Kingdom of Ireland and the Kingdom of Great Britain was united to form, can you guess, Andrea?
Was it some kind of, say, United Kingdom?
Yes, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And I think they missed a trick there by not calling it the Two Kingdoms or something else, Game of Thrones. But that really was the catalyst for urgency by Irish Republicans who following the Easter Uprising in 1916, created the Republic of Ireland, which officially became a republic in 1921.
Okay.
That's an insanely brief recap. But an even briefer recap is this. Ireland have been trying to get the British out of Ireland for the last 1.5 millennia. So To our Irish viewers, please feel free to let me know how well or not I did in all of that. Put it in the comment section. Anyway, on Monday, the country received the news that although he's only been king for 17 months, Charles III, don't worry if you missed the first two, you can catch up later, has been diagnosed with cancer. And of course, I'm sure you, as well as everyone here, well, there's just two of us, wishes that His Majesty well with his treatment.
Yes, all our best to Charles as he works his way through this.
Now, thankfully, the cancer isn't actually terminal, so that's good. Anyway, a couple of things here. Buckingham Palace haven't disclosed what part of the body he's got cancer on, which is fair enough. Your medical records are your own affair, right? But they then said it wasn't his prostate. And at first I was really confused by that approach. But then I realized that King Charles, a man of 75 years of age, in fact, any older man, and I'll include myself in that, as I had a bit of a scare a couple of years ago, as soon as you tell people you've got cancer, everybody assumes prostate, right? So just nipping that one in the bud, so to speak.
Yes. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and send our best to everyone's prostates in a blanket well-wisher statement. May all the prostates remain the size that they're supposed to be, and may you piss a minimal number of times at night. Godspeed out there, fellas.
I'm not a religious man, Andrea, but honestly, that's a prayer I can get on board with. So, yes, I have been leading to this, by the way. Talking of massive arseholes, Donald Trump has tweeted, in all caps, of course, how well he knew King Charles during his time as presidency. And no doubt before that, when he ran into his brother, Prince Andrew, at Jeffrey Epstein's abode. What? Are we not going to talk about that?
Oh, they do not like it when you talk about that, do they?
Not really. I'm sure they got on really well. They did have a falling out over windmills. Help me out, Andrea. I don't understand.
I'll try my best. I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on the windmill thing because every time Trump starts talking about it, part of my brain dies. But as I understand it, offshore windmills give whales cancer and cause birds to also have cancer, and then other fish go insane. And Donald Trump is pointing all that out because, as you know, he's a devout wildlife conservationist, cares very deeply for whales, even though he wishes they could be skinnier and more blonde.
Of course he does. And what else is happening in his la la land?
Well, our favorite wildlife conservationist had a bit of a setback this week when an appeals court ruled that Donald Trump cannot claim presidential immunity from prosecution. The decision was unanimous, and this could have major implications for the presidential campaign.
Well, that's interesting.
It is very interesting. Now, of course, he's going to appeal it to the Supreme Court, and he's going to be praying that they either delay that decision indefinitely until he can get back into the White House and start claiming presidential immunity again, or that they'll remember that time that he hired three of them and go ahead and say he has the immunity right now. They
Yes.
also could just say, who, us? We don't want to make that bye, and try to dodge the decision entirely.
Wow. I mean, you'll forgive me. I'm genuinely confused, concerned, and disturbed that a man that showed he was prepared to overthrow the democratic will of the people first time should be allowed another go at office.
Yes, I am also confused and concerned and disturbed about that.
Mm.
This immunity thing is pretty bonkers because basically what Trump and his lawyers are saying is that you can never be prosecuted for anything you do while you're president, while at the same time chanting "lock him up" to his supporters about Joe Biden. It also means that Joe Biden could shoot Trump in the face and not have to worry about it afterwards. I'm not saying he should do that. I'm
No.
just saying that it's weird that Trump and his lawyers are saying that he could.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you have any concept like this. Like, if Rishi Sunak committed a crime while he was in office, would he be able to claim any kind of immunity or no?
Okay. Well, I'm first of all, I'm intrigued by the premise of if he committed a crime while in office. I'd like to think no. And in fact, for breaking lockdown rules, he has received an FPN, that's a fixed penalty notice of £50, which I understand he's paying in installments.
Well, poor Rishi. Good luck to him getting the scratch together to pay that off one day. Maybe buy the wife some flowers and see if she'll let you go wild in her bank account for a second.
That's about right. Yes.
So, Matt, I also have some late breaking news from Trump's fraud trial. I just found out about this this morning. So he has already been found guilty of fraud, which I know must come as a huge shock to you.
Wow. Such an upright guy as well.
Yeah, none of us saw that coming. And now the question is, how much money is he going to owe? Looking like it might be in the neighborhood of like $370 million.
Wow. That's a lot. He's going to
That
have to sell a lot of steaks to get that back.
yes, yes. All the cows are terrified right now. Now, there's a new wrinkle to this case. Trump's accountant testified at this trial that everything was on the up and up, nothing to see here. But now there's a rumor that he's cutting a deal with the DA on a separate Trump case to plead guilty to perjury in exchange for saying what really happened. So the judge in this case is all like, wait a minute, if he did perjury over there, did he do a perjury over here too? Because if so, I'm about to drop the hammer even harder.
Wow. So, I mean, the thing is, it is rats deserting a sinking ship. They turn on each other, don't they? It's just, yeah, there you go.
I think anyone who is loyal to Trump, for example, Ronna McDaniel,
Mm.
changed the rules so, they would benefit Trump, and now he's trying to boot her out. So, he's the loyalty only goes one way with him. So
Yes.
anyone who thinks that he is going to save your skin is sorely mistaken. And the best thing you can do is turn on him as quickly as possible, honestly.
Get the best deal while you're doing it. Absolutely.
Exactly, exactly. So, so we've got that going on with the head of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, and the rest of the Republican Party has had a lively week in Congress, which usually doesn't bode well, and this is no exception. So, to back up a little bit, you may have noticed that Ukraine and Russia have been at war with each other for a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of years now.
Yep, and we have been sending money and a spare weapon or two that we had laying around to help out Ukraine. As you know, we are very generous with our explosive supply.
You are. You absolutely are. We've covered that in a previous episode, didn't we? Yes.
Yes, we're kind of like the Oprah of bombs. You get a bomb and you get a bomb. Look under your chair. Now stand up and get away because there's a bomb under the chair. Anyways. So we were, helping Ukraine out, but then the money ran out. So Congress had to approve some more. And a faction of the Republican Party said, wait a minute, we are not sending any money to Ukraine until someone fixes our border. And they said, all right, no problem. So they got together a Republican and a Democrat and an independent, stuffed them in a room for weeks on end and said, don't come out until you've got a border deal.
That's the way to do it.
It is. It's very effective. So after weeks of sliding pizzas and pancakes under the door to them, they finally emerged. A deal is out, and there are things in it that piss off both the left and the right. Any good compromise should be mildly infuriating to both sides. And now the Republicans, who insisted on this border deal, are all voting against it. It's a very functional party, and you'd be crazy not to think so.
Wow. I believe it was the great Bill Waterson, through his seminal Calvin and Hobbes creation, that said, a good compromise leaves everybody mad.
Yes, and there is plenty of rage to go around right now. I I can't think of anything funnier than the idea of Republicans trying to do something that they campaigned on doing, then getting told to stand down by Trump. Then Trump gets convicted and thrown in jail, and the guy that they all put their necks on the line for is suddenly not a factor anymore. And then voters toss them out of office because they didn't do anything that they said they would do. That to me would just be the absolute pinnacle of comedy.
And a bit of a gift for your channel too, of course.
Yes, yes, we would have a field day with that. Now, of course, some other things happened in Republican land this week that also show that this party is just in complete and utter disarray. Last week, we talked about how they were trying to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They had the vote on that yesterday, and it failed by one vote, Matt.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Thank you, comedy gods. That was a funny one. Then we had the Nevada primary, and Nikki Haley lost to none of these options. So none of these options was one of the options, and more people picked that than her. So her campaign is going great right now. And finally, the RNC chair, Ronna McDaniel, is stepping aside, as we mentioned, because Trump said so, and he gets whatever he wants every time he stomps his little feet. And then the cherry on top of all of that was Marjorie Taylor Greene storming out of a hearing just a few weeks after she had criticized Hunter Biden for doing the same thing. So to paraphrase Kris Jenner, Republican Party, you're not doing amazing, sweetie.
You have to ask, are the Republican Party going to make it to the election? You know, the way that things are going.
I don't know. I, I've been thinking about the different scenarios here because, now that this appeals court has said that Trump can't claim presidential immunity for the election subversion case, if that trial goes ahead and he gets convicted and thrown in jail sometime before the election, Nikki Haley might not be in the race any longer at that point with this poor showing that she's got in Nevada.
Yeah.
If she, right now she's trying to stick around until Super Tuesday, which I believe is March the 5th.
Yeah.
So she's trying to hang in there until then and see if she can pull a rabbit out of a hat, but it doesn't look good. So chances are after Super Tuesday, she's going to be gone. Sometime after Super Tuesday, this Trump trial might happen, resulting in his possible conviction. And then if he gets convicted, the Republicans won't have a presidential candidate and they have to kind of start the process all over again. And
I was going to ask about that because I was going to say, is it possible that the Republicans could end up with no candidate come the election, or do they need to rush through the whole sort of thing again and get said, we not got a candidate, quick, and gather everybody up?
Yeah, it depends on the timing of things, because I think their convention where they officially pick a candidate is sometime in June or July, I want to say. I think
Right.
it's sometime this summer. So we've got a few more months of this, business before it's made official. But if the trial, the odds of the trial getting all the way through and him getting convicted by then, I think are slim.
Okay.
But it's possible that it could happen by November, which is when we have the actual election. So yeah, it's possible that they nominate him at their convention in the summer, and then come November, he's out of the picture. Or they might just leave him in and let him keep. I don't know what would happen, Matt. It's so
Yeah.
weird here right now.
Uncharted territory. But it's a good time to have a comedy channel about it, isn't it, really?
Terrific. There is no shortage of material to work with. Matt, I'm curious. We have our Republican Party just in disarray, turning on each other. There's a ton of backbiting. There's all these factions going after each other. Are the Tories this bad? Have they turned on each other like this? Is it just total chaos over there as well?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it is rats in a sack moment. It's nothing. I don't think it's quite like as bad as the Republican Party, but they certainly are turning on each other.
Yeah.
As we've been covering for a while now. I think last year I said that Rishi Sunak was going to face a vote of no confidence.
Right.
Face a leadership election. That never happened. And I think that's part of the problem. There's all these different factions and they can't get behind one person.
Mm-hmm.
When Boris Johnson was in Theresa May's cabinet and then she booted him out, he was able to draft up quite a bit of, response from people and build up a real sort of sense of momentum. That isn't happening with the Tories. So they are pulling all different ways and stuff. The latest is something called the Popular Conservatives.
Okay.
Out of 300, I think it's about 350 odd MPs, 350 Conservative MPs, 11 turned up. So that's 11 Popular Conservatives. I mean, it only needs to tell you what the other 330 are. And you'll never believe who is their leader, Liz Truss. Certainly the least popular Conservative leader we've ever had. She is leader of they call themselves the Popular Conservatives. That's the thing. That's the irony of it. It's like me calling myself Handsome Matt. Hi, everybody. I'm Handsome Matt. You know what I mean? It's all a bit desperate, shall we say?
Matt,
Yeah.
I disagree with your assessment. I think you're doing great over there. But the
Get out of
idea,
here.
The idea of Liz Truss being in charge of the popular conservatives is so funny. I I'm curious where the name popular conservatives is that the conservatives that, you know, in school they had people sitting with them at the lunch table, or how did the name come up?
Well, again, obviously they've come up with a name themselves and they chucked it around a few branding. It actually doesn't even look like they've done that. I don't think a single focus group has looked at this branding name because they would have laughed it out of the room. Anyway, yeah, they just appear to have, you know, if you call yourself popular conservatives, then maybe people might think you're popular conservatives. But they're not. As I say, Liz Truss certainly wasn't. And it is one of those where I think just about everybody in the country realized that she wasn't very good at her job. But it's only when you got to see her stand up and talk again, you're like, yeah, she really wasn't very good at her job. She stood there, she does this, and it almost looks painful on her hand. I mean, Rishi's got this,
Right,
but she does this. It just looks like you need to pull her off the stage, actually pick her up and then move her off the stage like that,
yeah.
you know, and clench her hands, like release, release, and then go, oh. Yeah, as I say, it just looks painful. She looks pained getting up and having to speak in front of other people. It's a painful experience for her and thereby all of us.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they're letting her talk again. To me, what this feels like is, you know, what I picture is like a pilot crashing a plane into a field and then emerging from the burning wreckage and going, all right, give me another plane, one more.
Forget all those lefty wokies. Give me another one. Come on.
Right, exactly.
It's the way to go. I knew I was right. I was right before, and I'm right again this time.
Yes, the flaming wreckage suggests otherwise.
Yeah, it's just delusion. That's all it is. I mean, the thing is, it is, you know, she is kind of another version of Trump. Essentially, it's delusional stuff. It's like if I tell people she blew 30 billion on the economy, and now she's turning around saying I had the right idea. It's just like you didn't. You just need to own up to. First step is to own up to that. But maybe the horrifying part of it all, you know, just means that she can't. But yeah, as I say, it's. Oh, and then somebody else that was there that I know you're a big fan of, Andrea, Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Oh, good old Jakey.
Good old Jacob. Trying to, and that was another bizarre thing. This person who was Eton educated, you know, a millionaire, knight of the realm, right, railing against the elite. He said it was the elite, you know, blah blah blah, and he was brought up on it on his own show on GB News, which is the equivalent British equivalent of Fox News, and they said, "You're the elite," and he says, "Yes, but that's how I know how rotten the elite are." Because it's like I was a member of it, you know. That's how I'm working from within. I think that's what he was trying to tell us. It's like we're not falling for this, Jacob.
Please tell me he was wearing a top hat at the time he was saying all this.
Yes. Don't you know?
Top and tails, little monocle. That's how I like to picture him when I think of him fondly.
It's the damn elite. Now, forgive me, I've got to burn a few more peasants.
Right, exactly.
keep the mansion warm.
That peasant burning really all day affair. Well, everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. And I want to thank you all for watching and listening. Next week, we will be with you a little bit earlier than usual, more like Monday or Tuesday. But in the meantime, head on over to Matt's channel at The Interesting Times UK. And I will be here throughout the week with some comedy and some coping mechanisms at Phoenix News Network. Please give us both subscribes and likes and all of those kinds of things. Thank you for being here, Matt, and we will see everyone next time.
Bye-bye.